Last part, we finally brought an end to the Vaadwaur's war across the Delta Quadrant. In doing so, we uncovered an odd piece of technology, unlike anything found in the Vaadwaur's arsenal, and we're hoping it may provide some clues as to how the Vaadwaur encountered the bluegill parasite, or perhaps even how they rose to be such a threat once again.
Admiral Tuvok and Captain Kim are leading the analysis of the artifact you found on Vaadwaur Prime. I knew you'd want to be there for the great reveal, so I've arranged for you and your crew to be part of the team. Rendezvous with Voyager to get started.
We set a course for Nal Shadan, the name of which sounds like it's from a galaxy far, far away. But this system supports 90 million inhabitants, which are a pre-warp civilization just beginning to explore their solar system. Interestingly, none of the powers of the Delta Quadrant have actually intruded upon this society's development, which is a rarity at this end of the galaxy. We're a good distance away from any planets, so we won't be detected. We receive permission to beam aboard to the USS Voyager, and Admiral Tuvok himself is there to meet us. I was expecting Kylo Van Zyl as usual, but it seems not.
Welcome back to Voyager. We were about to begin studying the device you recovered from Gall's communication center. Since you have spearheaded much of our efforts here, I would like you to take the lead once again. Captain Kim and 7 of 9 are at your disposal. Talk with them if you need more help deciphering the device. When you finish your analysis, return to me for further orders. I will be here in the transporter room to see you off.
Thank you, Admiral. I'll head down to engineering. I think I remember the way? We have seen devices similar to this before, however, but with no proof, it won't do us any good to be spouting off theories at this juncture. Captain Harry Kim and 7 of 9 are also both lending their experiences to this project, Kim as he was with us for much of the campaign, and 7 for her wealth of knowledge on the Delta Quadrant species. We'll let Kim know we've arrived.
Glad you're here. We transported the device to engineering here so we could run all the scans and tests we could think of. The first thing we need to do is determine how it's communicating. We can't find any normal transmissions from it, but we're hoping you have some new ideas to bring to the table.
Damn it, Kim, I'm a tactical captain, not a subspace engineer. So it appears to be a communications device, and it is active, but there are no detectable signs. As Kim suggested, we cannot get any sort of reading on any normal scan, so let's look outside of the box, or in this case, outside of our universe. We check for chronoton radiation, signs of time travel, but nothing pings, so we also check for signs of multi-dimensional distortion, like the sorts that indicate a mirror universe incursion, but nada. So finally, we look for the presence of subspace fields, and we get a faint resonance from a partnered device somewhere in subspace. Well, the Vaadwaur underspace corridors are a form of subspace tunnel. We check in with Kim.
The device communicates with subspace. We should have guessed that. Now comes the hard part. We need to access the device's memory core. The engineering team here on Voyager is good, and I've heard your team is top-notch, but it might take more time than we have for either team to make a full analysis. We should have both teams give you their opinions on the device. If we work together, hopefully we can make a breakthrough. You'll need to set switches on the device until we get solid readings. We'll be able to tell if switches are in the correct position, but not which switches. Good luck.
So, basically, I push random buttons while Kim sees what lights up. If we choose to evaluate, he'll tell us how many of the switches are in place, but not the exact ones, and there is no limit on tries, so we can keep guessing until we're through the 3 stages. Although the first was right from the start.
Sir, I've consulted with both the engineers here on Voyager and your chief engineer. I am seeing green across the board. All the switches are in the correct position, and we now have access to the primary memory core of the device. Unfortunately, we're only halfway there. Now we need to access the secondary memory core to get full access to the data we need. Looks like you did it again. All the switches are in the correct position, and we now have full access to the memory core of the device. 7 of 9 should be of assistance in accessing the memory banks of that device. She's in astrometrics, attempting to get a fix on the location of who, or what, is receiving these transmissions.
So we go to track down 7, who is at her old post from when she used to serve aboard this ship. Without so much as a hello, we begin to work on how to proceed.
We have access to the databanks of the device. Very efficient work. From the data we have received so far, we will be able to pinpoint the exact transmission coordinates. However, it is possible that doing so may alert whomever is on the other end that we have reverse-engineered their technology. There are 3 likely ways to get at the information. I suggest further analysis to determine the best course of action.
We can simply try to force our way in with Starfleet decryption, make an encrypted inquiry, or a multi-vectored query. The force option will likely trigger alerts, as it would on almost any technology. The encrypted approach might work, but there's no telling what security the owners of this device have to detect a fraudulent approach, so the multi-vectored angle is the best option. Or so the tricorder tells me. The technique works, and we have a set of subspace coordinates for the other end of this device's communication line. With no time to waste, and just to be safe, we make for the transporter room and report to the Admiral. And we also discover he's brought a guest, the EMH Doctor.
Fascinating. Excellent work. With this location, we may be able to finally reveal who gave the Vaadwaur their advanced technology, and why the Neural Parasites appeared again in this time and place. Commander Jirok of the Romulan Republic has requested to join you on this operation. Her own analysis of the device has shown that the Romulans have had some contact with the creators of this device, a race known as the Ilachi. She will meet you in subspace at the given coordinates.
The Ilachi? I'd heard the Republic had dealings with them.
Finally, Voyager's emergency medical hologram, the Doctor, will be assigned to your crew. His knowledge of the Delta Quadrant races may prove invaluable. He's not much of a combatant, but should prove useful.
Alright then, we'll try to keep him out of harm's way. Doctor?
Hello again.
With our next course of action clear, we return to the Anglia and enter into subspace through a generated rift. We are waiting on Captain Jirok of the RRW Lasette, the Romulan Republic flagship, and inside this distorted realm of our universe, where the laws of physics are as inconsistent as the shifting view, we're confronted with the towering form of a subspace station of Ilachi design. It's within this layer of reality that faster than light becomes feasible, how cross-galactic communications are possible, and partly how warp drive works.
Greetings. This is Commander Jirok of the RRW Lasette. When we learned that the Ilachi were involved, I requested to shadow you on this mission.
Damn it, and I thought we got here first.
I know your experience with the Ilachi is limited. The Romulan Republic, however, has an extensive history with this race.
Your expertise is appreciated, so just who are the Ilachi?
The Tal Shiar used Ilachi to help invade Veronat, a colony made up of Romulan refugees seeking to make a new life for themselves. The two factions worked together to convince Romulan colonies to join the Tal Shiar. It was in spite of this that the Romulan Republic was forged. We fought off the Tal Shiar and eventually made a stand against the Ilachi at New Romulus. Many Romulans gave their lives in defense of our new homeworld. But that final defense seemed to quiet Ilachi attacks for quite some time, barring the occasional incursion from subspace.
Now, I've already covered the Ilachi Tal Shiar attacks in this series. It's the opening that Romulan allied players will originally face.
All right. We'll follow your lead here. We're seeing 3 patrol groups. Recommend we eliminate them before we board the station.
So we make our advance onto the Ilachi facility by first engaging these Kulash patrol vessels. And they're not too much hassle, especially with the firepower of the Republic's Lasette with us. Clearly, with only 3 ships, they weren't expecting invaders into this unstable pocket of subspace. I mean, that's understandable. People don't usually make a habit of delving into the underlayers of reality.
It's odd that Gaul was contacting the Ilachi. They don't exactly play well with others.
We approach the towering construct. Its deep green glows looking almost Borg in the shade. But the design is clearly not. However, as we draw in, Ilachi reinforcements enter the zone.
Another Ilachi ship is here to defend the outpost.
More combat, this time with a Mon Bosch battleship, which is accompanied by a number of support drones and supply ships. This is a little harder to deal with and can teleport through space using a spore drive. This is tied to the Alachi's origin as a fungal-based race. Yep, they are sentient mushroom people. With the mould managed, we are free to board the station, and we bring the Doctor with us. This eerie fungal facility features towers of stone-like material and loose wiring from the ceiling's recesses. Talking with Tarsi, she informs us that Captain Javok is of like mind as Hale here, and thinks nothing of putting herself in danger on away missions too. She also wants to talk to us before we proceed.
I was thinking we should split up and cover as much of the facility as we can, unless you have a better idea.
Well, Doctor, opinion? We brought you along for your expertise.
This is obviously an Alachi facility. What I know about them comes from the Romulan Republic's databases, but I should be able to learn more as we examine this location. The air here is suitable for the Alachi, which means that you may find breathing difficult. I, of course, do not have that problem. If you have an environmental suit, or even some sort of rebreather, you will be fine. If you don't, keep an eye out for something that could help filter out the toxins.
Well, shit, I didn't bring a rebreather. Fortunately, we can find some along this mission. However, until we do, our crew will be temporarily incapacitated by coughing on the spores in the air. It seems the Alachi breathe an oxygen-nitrogen mix, but there's other nasty stuff here too. I think a bioscan on returning is going to be warranted. Most of the illumination, that not provided from monitors and displays, is given by these growths of bioluminescent plant life suspended from tubes in the ceiling.
These are Solanae tables. I've read the Enterprise D's reports about them.
A little early there, Doc, but he's right. Upon entering a new chamber, we're confronted with what looks like a lab of examination tables and several hostile Alachi. As we put down the terrible toadstools, the sound of disruptor fire continues, and we can look into the next chamber to witness Jurok and her boarding party fighting back their share of Alachi. We're separated by a pane of some unbreakable material, however. These tables are out of place with the surrounding environment, but instantly recognisable as those encountered by the Enterprise in 2369, and again by Ambassador Worf and us late in 2409, when we first boarded the Solanae Dyson sphere. I don't recognise the species on its surface, but then again, if the nature of the experiments is the same as then, it's probably been mutilated beyond recognition.
These are definitely Solanae tables. Which, if I'm correct, and I always am, is the same race you dealt with after using the Iconian Gateway on New Romulus. The Solanae kidnap victims through subspace for their brutal experiments. If they are somehow connected to the Alachi and the Vaadwaur, this is beginning to make more sense. If I had to guess, there must be a stasis room nearby. We should find it and rescue anyone in there who can still be saved.
We press through the thick smog and down the alien corridors, the misty spores swirling with our passing. The next room we enter has several Hastorath spider-like drones and Alachi grunts to dispatch, and my tactical officer gets gracefully floored. Great! Another concussion to have to write up. These Alachi have actually encountered Starfleet once too, many years ago. The Enterprise NX-01 encountered a silent enemy in 2151 after a subspace amplifier, the first Warp 5 vessel launches, attracts the attention of an unknown species.
It looks as if they are converting their captives into more Alachi. If my readings are correct, there are several individuals here who have only just begun the conversion process. We can save them if we beam them back to your ship.
The Alachi make more Alachi. How does that work? Please tell me they do not spore people and then the spores grow throughout the... I don't want to think about it. Also, I really regret not bringing a rebreather now. We clear the grunts between these person-sized test tubes and then set about familiarising ourselves with this room. It's going to take a minute to free all these captives, so we need to make sure we're secure. Well, most of these people are too far gone, huddled over, unconscious and filled with fungal growths. Some, though, like the Stalaxian, are alert and waiting to be rescued.
Transport the Stalaxian directly to sickbay. A Kazon? Even the Borg won't assimilate a Kazon.
Really, Doc?
Everything will be fine, Mr. Teray. We'll beam you directly to sickbay. This is no way for a proud Klingon warrior to go out. We'll patch him up, immediately. Ah, a Hazari. Stay calm. We'll get you the medical attention you need.
Hello, what's in these crates?
Good. You found a breathing apparatus. That should take care of that nasty cough.
We equip the breathers to the away team and thankfully they work. I wonder what they're here for. Vaadwaur visitors, maybe? Transporting the captives from one cell to the next? Whatever the case, they work to filter out the toxins in the air, and we will no longer be immobilized with sporadic coughing fits. Let's continue our saving.
We're transporting you to a Romulan ship in orbit. You're going to be fine. You'll be back on duty before you know it. One to beam up. Well, the Solanae are definitely involved. I believe I have everything I need from this area. We need to keep moving if we hope to meet up with Commander Jarok. The door is unlocked now. We should keep going.
We enter back into the lab from earlier to find it filled with a security team that seems to have been on our trail. Unsurprisingly, another firefight breaks out as we clear the room of hostiles. You know, it's probably species like the Alachi that give the alien invasion tales of early human history some credence, what with their penchant for abductions and all. When the fighting dies down, we move back to that dividing window that we saw Jarok through earlier, and she comes in.
This is odd. You sound like you're in a Solanae lab, but we're in some place that looks like a prison. In fact, I'd say that's exactly what it is. And they've just had a breakout. Whoever it was, they used our arrival as the distraction they needed to make their move. I'll keep looking for more information, but I hope the escapees are friendly.
Interesting find, Commander. We found a similar enclosure.
Prison break? Maybe I should go back to the ship.
We watch Jarok and her team move out, and it seems that some of the captives may be just ahead of our team. Hopefully we can rescue them and that they're up for being rescued. A new door on this chamber is now unlocked for us to go through.
Neural Parasites. This must be where the Vaadwaur were implanted with those mind-controlling bugs.
Yeah, one sec, Doc, there. Over there in the background, the hooded figure. Are you guys seeing this? This looks like a Solanae. What's he doing? I don't think he's seen us. We might be able to take him captive. Huh. We check the rest of the room for enemies, and sure enough we find jars of bluegill neural parasites, the same sorts that were integrated into the Vaadwaur by Gor's deal.
Neural parasites. Just as I suspected. Did you know that several Starfleet officers were infected by these in the mid-2360s? The Enterprise logs from that era are fascinating reading if you ever have a few dozen hours to spare. If Gaul and the infected Vaadwaur were communicating with this station, it stands to reason that this may be the facility where the bluegill implantation takes place. We should definitely investigate further. If we can find the implantation room, then I should be able to analyze their equipment and gather more information. I don't believe it. The empirical evidence is right in front of me, but I'm actually having difficulty processing this information. This tech, this whole facility, it's Iconian. There are variations on the norm, of course, because of the Solanae and Alachi influence, but I see distinct signs of their presence throughout the facility.
That's what I've been fearing, but it's as you said, Doc, it's all buried beneath these other proxy races.
The Iconians, as we know them, rarely reveal themselves. The only known interaction with an Iconian in modern history took place on Kronos, when... Wait, you were there! I don't need to explain that situation again. As I was saying, the Iconians don't like to act directly. They use servitor races, like the Alachi and the Solanae, to cause chaos in their name. And the Neural Parasites, they've bioengineered. Rather like the founders created the Jem'Hadar, but sophisticated enough to control another species, and with much less free will. parasites are a weapon.
You'd think this is the same for Gaul's Vaadwaur. They've been active since before we got to the Delta Quadrant, which means they've been working with the Iconians since before the Iconians revealed themselves to us at Khitomer. I think these threats are all beginning to line up.
When Voyager revived the Vaadwaur, their technology was outdated compared to what other powers in the Delta Quadrant had at that time. Even the Kazon outdid them. But now, Vaadwaur technology is cutting edge. The only way they could have advanced so far, so fast, was by allying themselves with someone else. With the Iconians. The Vaadwaur got their tech upgrades from them, but they also got the Neural Parasites. The Parasites gave the Vaadwaur power, but they gave the Iconians control. They were ultimately the ones pulling the strings. This entire war has been against an enemy we didn't even see.
We need to rendezvous with Jarek and get out of here. This information does no good to the Alliance if we cannot deliver it. In the next chamber we enter, a Solanae scientist releases some grown parasites that then attack us as he makes his escape. Critters are easily destroyed, but the scientists manage to vanish from our sights before we can apprehend them. So the Solanae are here conducting their experiments, all while the Alachi incubate and cultivate neural parasites to insert into other species, and they're growing more fungal Alachi by converting prisoners captured by their drones, all while the Vaadwaur are gifted military might and bound to their cause. It's like a twisted federation. Again, more fleeing Solanae and more parasites released to distract us.
This is more like a factory than a laboratory.
I'm guessing people are strapped into this apparatus, then a parasite is forced down their mouth by that arm. Ooh. Yeah, and this device in the middle certainly looks like a Solanae structure.
Some of this technology is ancient, but it's quite advanced.
So are Iconian gateways, Doctor.
These parasites aren't a natural species at all. They look engineered.
We continue with our mission to meet up with Jirok. However, Tarsi detects parasite-enhanced Elachi beyond the next door. She states that their readings are fluctuating. Unlike the phaser-resistant Vaadwaur overseers, these Elachi cannot maintain their invulnerability, so we'll have to attack one until it's impervious, then switch to its partner, keeping this up until the parasitic Portabella are put down.
I think we're catching up with the escapees, and they might be from the Alpha Quadrant. We found a dead Romulan in prisoner garb. He was part of the breakout, but I don't know if he was part of the Republic or loyal to the Tal Shiar. Keep an eye out. The prisoners are headed in your direction.
Understood, although I'm hoping that even the Tal Shiar wouldn't pick a fight with us in this situation.
Maybe we should avoid any potential contact with the prisoner? I think I've seen enough combat for today.
We look for a meeting point between the two wings of the facility where we can unify and escape, but we've reached an inner wall of the complex, beyond which lies the expansive chambers of the Spire's core.
Humans! Always showing up when you're least expected.
Is that see? Hold on, she's brought guests. We'll deal with this in a minute, but that must be one of the escaped prisoners Jirok's tailing. This jailbreak helps explain why we've faced intermittent opposition.
More Alachi. I don't think the Iconians want me to leave.
The Alachi are fighting on three fronts, but now we've converged. So too have the Alachi.
Their tenacity is almost admirable.
Stop admiring the mushrooms and kill them. Why am I having to explain this to you?
Looks like you could use a hand.
Jirok, thank God, help me secure this room. We continue to fend off Elachi after Elachi as they pour in.
And now we have their leader's attention.
The skirmish is hectic as the Republic, Sealer and the away team all fire at the sporadically spawning enemies until they finally stop throwing themselves at us. Although just when I think the trouble is over, we turn to see Jirok and Sealer levelling disruptors at each other. So funny thing, you'll never guess who that prisoner was.
Sealer! I should kill you where you stand. It would be justice for all the lives you've destroyed.
Jirok, come on now, this is not the time or a place. We can sort this out later.
And if you do, you'll never learn about the Iconians. I've been here for months. I've seen enough to know you need my help.
Sealer's right, she could have valuable intel, and you know she's not going to spill it with a disruptor pointed at her face.
Fine, you interrogate her. I might get a little carried away. But she returns with me to the Lisette when you're finished here. Sealer is a prisoner of the Romulan Republic. Your government can go through official channels if they want to talk to her.
Agreed, you take custody of her once we've had a little chat.
You and this Sealer person seem to have some history. I'll leave you to speak to her.
So, the last time we saw her, she was on the Leval, being dragged away by an unknown ship after the Riemann assault on Breya 3. That was when we overthrew her Kiev, a long time ago now.
Not so fast. You have the weapons, but I have the information. If you want to learn what I know, you'll need to keep those Romulan rebels under control. You've stumbled into something much greater than you're prepared to handle. I'm the best ally you have.
Then talk, because right now, I get to decide what happens to you in the next 5 minutes.
I assume you already know where you are. Both the Elachi and the Solanae serve the Iconians. The Elachi are their warriors, and the Solanae are their scientists. They're the ones who created those creatures implanted into the Vaadwaur.
You know about the Vaadwaur? Wait, wasn't Kiev allied to the Iconians? Does that mean he was... No, we'd have noticed if he had a neural parasite. So why'd they use the parasites now and not on the Tal Shiar?
Hakiv joined the Iconians out of faith. He thought the Iconians would create an empire he could rule. That did not go as planned. This time the Iconians wanted to control their puppets. When the Vaadwaur asked for strength to defeat their enemies, the Iconians gave them the parasites. The Vaadwaur had strength, but also strings. Strings that have now been cut. I'm sure you had something to do with that.
Also, she is all but confirming that she lost control of her Kiev to the Iconians. But yes, we stopped the Vaadwaur alongside an alliance of Klingons and Romulans. Not to mention the other species of the Delta Quadrant. You've been gone a long while.
All three of you working together? The world has changed in my absence. Or were the Vaadwaur that much of a threat to the Alpha Quadrant?
Wait, Alpha Quadrant? Oh, I see. You know of the Vaadwaur from what you've overheard being here. Sealer, we're in the Delta Quadrant.
That explains some things. I'd love an escort back to the world at large, but I have a feeling you have some questions first. I'll answer what I can. You can believe what you want.
First off, Jirok said she was tracking prisoners. Where's the rest of your crew? You went in with the whole ship.
Ah, the crew. The Elachi took them one by one and turned them into those things. Revolting. If I had known that was what they were doing with the captives from the colonies, I would have...
Dwelling on the past, I see.
Yes, you were asking about the crew. A handful of us were still alive when the station went on alert. We took a chance and made our escape. They died, nobly, as Romulans protecting their Empress. I will remember their sacrifice.
Alright, so a big one. How did you get involved with all this Iconian mess?
How important is that, really? I worked with the Iconians because, at the time, I thought it was the best thing for my people. After we lost the homeworld, we were scattered, starving. A shadow of what we once were. What were we supposed to do? Beg the Federation or the Klingons for scraps? Pathetic. The so-called Romulan Republic has made their way, but they did it at the cost of Romulan dignity.
Dignity can only take you so far before it becomes arrogance. Is that more important than survival? Plus, we helped evacuate the refugees.
We are not refugees. We are Romulan. We needed a strong leader to bind us together again, and I knew I could be that leader. The Iconians were a means to an end. They gave us strength at a time when we were at our weakest. Had I known what what he and the Iconians did to our world, perhaps I would not have made the same decision.
Well, the Romulan Republic is thriving and you are imprisoned by your supposed allies. Who made the right choice now then, eh?
Dwelling on the past is meaningless. I am here, and so are you. Today, our goals are aligned. We both want to stop the Iconian advance. You need me.
We'll see. I have more questions, though. So you've been observing them? Do the Iconians have a visible weakness?
Hubris. The Iconians think they are the rulers of the galaxy. They thought so 200,000 years ago, when they were driven off their homeworld by the fire of 1,000 races allied against them. They think so now, when they look at us and see us as children stumbling in the dark. They do not see our strength, our willingness to fight. Use their hubris against them, and the Iconians will fall.
Yeah, I can see that from their first appearance to us. So come on, what are they planning? Surely you must know.
I honestly don't know. Why would they share their plans with a prisoner? That may make me less valuable in your eyes, but don't be fooled. I know more about the Iconians' operations than they realize.
Well, that's an answer that says I'm holding back on purpose, but surely you must know something. Convince me that you're of value.
Did you know that the Iconians don't have a concept of spaces being separated? Of course, it's obvious when you watch how they use gateways. To the Iconians, every place in the galaxy, maybe even the universe, is just a step away. Think about that for a moment. Then think about why you never see them. Where are they hiding? I know, because I've been there.
Oh, so did you grab a postcard or a souvenir? How's this going to help us? Can we fly there?
You aren't going to defeat the Iconians by flying around in space looking for them. They learned their lessons about staying in one place a long time ago. This hunt isn't about following a long road. It's about taking one step in exactly the right place.
Cryptic, but fine, you have a point.
Will I be taken into your custody, or will I be left to Tiaru's tender mercies?
Commander Jurok will be taking you away, so don't expect to be on a first-name basis. She's taking you to the Delta Alliance command, and no, you won't be harmed. The Romulan Republic is not the Tal Shiar or the Empire.
Very well. It's not like I have a choice in the matter, do I?
No. With that completed, the Lasette beams out their new captive, and we are free to beam back to the USS Anglia and return to normal space.
We have Empress Sela in our brig. When she was taken by the Iconians last year, many of my people thought she would get away with her heinous crimes against the galaxy. With her in my brig, I am happy to know that is no longer a possibility. Of course, I understand that the Romulan Republic's claim on her is not unique. Her crimes are against all of the Alpha Quadrant. To that end, I will ensure that she be made available to all the Alliance leaders for interrogation and debriefing.
Well, that wasn't exactly what I'd call a walk in the park. At least we know exactly how the Iconians were controlling the Vaadwaur. And you've certainly put a crimp in their plans. On the upside, as a photonic life form, I'm immune to any attempts at subversion by neural parasites. I'll see to the care of the captives we've rescued. In the meantime, it sounds like you and the Romulan Republic Command have a lot to talk about. Sela certainly has a story to tell, but should we believe all of it? I'll put a bug in Admiral Janeway's ear about the situation. That was a joke, by the way. You're going to be busy. Don't overdo... Oh, who am I kidding? Command officers never take their doctor's advice. Just remember that you're not in this alone. Good luck. I suspect things are starting to get interesting.
Tarsi informs us that to capitalise on our actions here, Starfleet Intelligence has sent a wing of intel ships to ransack this installation. Good. We'll let the others take it from here, while we return to complete our duties. So, the Iconians lord over it all, manipulating the Tal Shiar and long-standing allies to the Alachi and the Solanae, dating back possibly millennia. And the parasites were a production of these servitor races, who were then ingrained into the commanders of the Vaadwaur to ensure their loyalty. It sounds like they appeared to Gaul and Sela in the same way. They looked for a desperate people and offered them succour and power in exchange for servitude, but Sela was not as cooperative as they liked, so when it came to Gaul, they added the caveat of the bluegills. This alliance they're forming is one of subterfuge and layers upon layers. Every species they put between themselves and their wars makes them that much harder to find, so if Sela can shed some light on that, we need to know about it. But I don't think she's going to prove to be cooperative, without incentive anyway. Ah well, the Republic should be happy to have her, and Drock seems like she won't do anything rash, so I'm sure Starfleet will get its info eventually. We turn in our mission and Burgess is lost for words. He suspects it will be some time before we can get any actionable intel out of Sela, so in the meantime we're to return to duty as normal. So before I go, the next part is going to cover some storylines that are kind of relevant for the next main chapter, but have been removed from the main series of Star Trek Online. So I'm effectively going to have to go back and replay them, but canonically they're supposed to take place much earlier on than the Delta Quadrant arc, so I'm looking to make it fit as seamlessly as possible. But I hope to see you there, as we are left to ponder the ramifications of Sela's return and the revelations she may bring. Until then, we've got some business to take care of back in the Alpha Quadrant, and I hope you'll join me there as we continue to sift through the ever-expanding and increasingly mixed up storyline of Star Trek Online. Until then, thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you later. I've been Rick. Goodbye.